On March 25, 1922, Andreas Gruber, a 63-year-old farmer in Hinterkaifeck, Bavaria, walked into his local tavern in Wernersell. He was visibly shaken. He told neighbors that he'd seen a stranger on his property, a figure moving between the trees near his farmstead. 2 days earlier, a former servant girl had died there under circumstances no one wanted to discuss. Gruber claimed he'd found footprints in the snow leading from the woods directly to his barn. He was afraid. Within 48 hours, Andreas Gruber, his wife Cäzilia, their son Andreas Jr., daughters Victoria and Cäzilia, and their hired hand Joseph Felder were all found murdered inside the farmhouse. The crime scene photographs from April 4th show an ordinary rural dwelling transformed into something unrecognizable. The investigation exposed fractures in the family that had nothing to do with the murders themselves. Andreas Gruber had fathered a child with his daughter Victoria, a secret that was common knowledge in the village, yet unspoken in official records. The servant girl who died, Katharina Gruber, had lived through that shame. When authorities examined the bodies and the farmhouse interior, they found blunt force trauma consistent with an axe. The coroner dated the deaths to sometime between March 31 and April 4. But here's where certainty began to crack. No weapons were found. No clear evidence of forced entry. The food in the kitchen was still warm when neighbors discovered the bodies. And the snow around the property was pristine, unmarked except for one detail that changed everything. The footprint detail split the investigation. Constable Johann Cronenberg photographed the snow surrounding Hinterkaifeck on April 4th. In his report, he documented a peculiarity. There were impressions leading away from the farmstead, but they seemed to emerge from nowhere. No path back. No approach. As if someone had walked backward out of the property or never touched the ground at all. Local rumor hardened into accusation. Some villagers whispered that the murders were a crime of passion, that Andreas Jr. or a jealous neighbor had enacted a brutal revenge. Others insisted the perpetrator was never found because they were already dead, or never existed in the form witnesses described. The newspapers printed theories wildly: a traveling vagrant, a vengeful lover, even a ghost. By May 1922, the file was closed unofficially. Officially, it was never solved. 2 explanations have held weight across a century. The first, a family member or known associate committed the murders during a moment of psychological rupture, then either fled into the forest and died or never existed in any verifiable form, a witness hallucination, a cover story. Evidence: the lack of forced entry, knowledge of the family secrets, the timing aligned with seasonal tension. The second explanation demands we accept the footprint evidence literally. An outsider entered and left Hinterkaifeck in a manner that defied normal physical possibility. No solution satisfies both the forensics and the witness testimony. Modern criminologists point to the trauma patterns as consistent with one weapon wielded by someone with anatomical knowledge. Historians note that Andreas Gruber's shame would have had village consequences. But neither theory explains the snow. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved, an official classification that carries weight in a case this visible. The farmstead still exists near Anzing, though it has been rebuilt. No one has lived there long. In 2007, a documentary team excavated the site. They found nothing that altered the original conclusions. What Hinterkaifeck teaches us is that some crimes are solved by finding the killer, and some are solved by accepting that we cannot. The footprints in the snow are still there, preserved in 1922 photographs, going nowhere, coming from nowhere. A century of investigation has only deepened the mystery, and that, for a case this dark, is somehow the most honest ending there is.